All right, and welcome back to this video series on work orders tab. Specifically, we're going to be getting into the sub-tab of requests and how to manage those requests in a neat and orderly fashion. So let's get into it. When we're talking about managing your requests, the first thing that I want to point out, and the first mistake everybody makes in request management, is they ignore the setup. I've heard from companies that have expressed their frustrations with express requests, and I go in and I look at how it's set up, and there's just really little time or effort or thought put into how to properly set it up. So if you haven't watched the setup and best practices video of requests, I highly recommend you look at that. And then if you have any questions, give us a call if you're still frustrated with the way that it's working, because it should be a very neat and orderly value-added asset to the way that you use express maintenance. That's number one. Number two is, where do requests come from? Well, if you don't know that already, you'll find out that you don't insert requests inside express maintenance. You can, but that's not its intended purpose. If you're entering a request inside express maintenance, you might as well go enter a work order. Now there are exceptions to that rule, but that's generally the rule. Requests come from express request. Comes from this module right here, where a requester logs in and then they enter their request, and then that request flows to the maintenance module in express maintenance, and that's where you can see those requests. You can see them submitted. You can look at reviewed, assigned, completed, unresolved, rejected, or canceled. So looking at submitted work requests, again, we took a look at how to set up these columns using the grid properties in the last video. But when those requests come in, you are going to get a notification down here. And we can also, the Express Maintenance does have an automated programming interface that you can purchase, and it allows you to auto-convert certain requests based on certain equipment and criteria into work orders, and it'll even schedule the downtime clock for you. We can have it send you an email. There's all kinds of things that we can do with that. Give us a call or email us at support@expressmaintenance.com if you have any questions about those. But when they come in, you can reprioritize them. So this priority was filled out by the requester, but if you look at the details of it and you're thinking that it's not a high priority, like most requesters are going to pick it's an emergency or it's urgent, you can recategorize that right here. You also have an opportunity to change the priority of it once you assign it to a work order. So here's your priority right here. So that's just one way that you can manage your requests as they come in. I always leave the requested date as my sort column. That way the oldest requests are at the top, and I never lose sight of them. I might not automatically convert all requests, and there's different ideas and philosophies on that, but which we won't get into, but that's generally how I leave it set up. So when it comes to the workflow surrounding requests, you're going to look at your requests and evaluate whether or not they need to be converted into work orders. If you are certain that it's ready to be converted into a work order, it's as simple as selecting the request or multiple requests, and then just simply assigning it to a work order. Okay. Now here, when we convert requests into work orders, we are going to, if you leave the schedule date blank, it will autofill with the original requested date. Now you have to decide how that's going to affect your work order overview. And we'll get into the work order overview and how to use that later for planning and scheduling purposes. But if you want to go ahead and mark this as scheduled for next Monday, and then categorize it by demand or reactive. This is demand reactive work. And you might push back on that. Some people do. Some people say, well, it's proactively reporting maintenance. Your preventive maintenance program should prevent the breakdowns from occurring to begin with. So we consider this, and the way that we look at it, as demand work. So then you have your group code. Again, this is a completely customizable field. If you haven't figured that out, you can put in all your breakdown codes. We're going to put in the mechanical breakdown classification. This is, we're going to get into this a little bit more in detail later, but general overview, using classification for planning and scheduling. If you don't know what the actual cause or what needs to be done, you don't know what parts need to be used, you don't know how many labor hours it's going to take, you don't know the status of the equipment, you just don't know, then you'll want to mark this as needs reviewed. And you'll see that there's an M, a T, a W. This is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. There should be a Thursday there, a Friday, and then a couple other options. And I'll explain all that in the planning and scheduling training. But if you know that it needs a part and the parts aren't available, then you can categorize this or classify this as need to order parts. Of course, you can see the progression. Now you're waiting on parts. The parts have come in, and now you're just ready to schedule. You have scheduled it, or you have to schedule it with production, or it's pending a manager's review. So in this case, we're going to say that we are just waiting on parts. The parts are already ordered, and we're going to classify these as waiting on parts. Now, because I've selected multiple requests, it's going to assign all of this detail to each one of those. So you have to think about that when you're selecting your requests. Are you going to be able to generalize the scheduler here and the fields that you fill out, or do you need to manually go through each request and assign it appropriately? I'm going to show you another way of doing that here in just a minute. So then you have your priority. Again, this is where you get to set your own priority. The requester is going to come in with the first request that was selected. So you can leave that blank, and it will autofill with the requester that was that submitted it. The work group, we're going to say this is maintenance, the technician. If you know who's going to do it, you can go ahead and assign that. If you don't, leave it blank, and then just hit proceed. And it's going to create 2 work orders. I don't want to view those now, but here they are. Okay, so in the last video, or no, I think I did talk about it in this one, you have, it says AA breakdown work. We leave that in there, and we suggest that you leave that in there because if a technician doesn't know and you don't have that option in there, they may just not submit the work request, and then you have a bigger problem. So if you see this in here, of course, you're going to want to convert that to an actual repair service, and then that way you are capturing good service history. So hope that's helpful as far as how to manage your work requests. Of course, they come in from Express Request, and then you can sort and categorize these by priority or date requested, and then convert them as you see fit. If you have any questions, again, don't hesitate to reach out to us at expressmaintenance.com, or you can email us at support@expressmaintenance.com. Thank you.